How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another stream. Um, let's see what I can do in like 30 minutes. This is definitely going to be a shorter stream. I'm going to try and do something, probably sketch something out and chat a little bit before I leave here. But before I get started, I still have to share the stream link and all that good stuff, so there be that to do as well. So give me a moment. Alright, how's it going, everyone? Hopefully everyone's having a decent time today. Didn't have too much time to... had a little bit of time to draw, but I didn't really do enough of something I enjoyed, so I don't really have much to show for that time. So we're just gonna do some warm-ups or whatever on stream. I was drawing a little bit of some architecture and things of that nature with you guys the other day. I think I'll do another as well because I don't practice drawing buildings enough. So that is something I'm going to do. Trying to not pick something so difficult to draw. But we will see. I kind of like these industrial, like looking backgrounds and stuff. Kind of like tunnels and that's what I'm seeing in front of me anyway. I kind of like these places that look a bit lived in, but I guess look a little bit abandoned. If that makes sense. I think they're kind of cool. I was going to use that brush, but I'm not drawing like people right now, so I don't think I can make that really work as well as I like to. Which brush was I using yesterday? I think it was this one. Okay. Trying to find where all these lines are supposed to be. the other one I did yesterday, or maybe I should have that approach now, but I don't mind just redoing it anyway. I kind of went for a more clean line approach because um, I guess the subject matter felt more like I was used to drawing it, but this one, I don't know, I feel a little bit rustier today, so I definitely don't think I can do this in a clean line approach. Also, I feel like that building was just, it was like an easier situation, like things that are just organized in like blocks. I feel like I can do those. I can understand that. Things that aren't organized that way kind of have a different feeling to it. So, yeah. I also think it's interesting when you come across a picture where it's like in shadow, like there's a part of it in shadow, and the only thing you can really do is surmise what it is. You can only guess because you can't really completely see it. So I guess if you maybe if you were more familiar with what you were drawing, you'd be able to guess more correctly at what it is you're seeing. But if you're not, it's just like a shape. And that might even be like so much shadow that you might see bits and pieces of that shape, not even the complete object, to kind of guess what that thing is. So I don't know if this is a metal piece or a cord or some sort of wire or something like that. I don't actually know. But I see it. I see that it's being illuminated by the light here. Um, but other than that, I can't exactly tell what I'm looking at all the time. So this one's there. Okay. And then you have all this stuff in here as well. The other thing I try to do when I'm like doing like I guess loose sketching like this is to kind of like give up on certain other things like accuracy. There's a certain amount of accuracy that I'm trying to get, and it's usually just kind of arranging things a certain way. That way it still looks like what it's supposed to. But like if something's off here and there, that's fine. Um, I'm going for the general idea of what the thing is that I'm drawing. If I'm missing some details, that's fine. Some of those details are a little different. That's also just fine. Uh, because I'm trying to do these in how much time? Like about I don't know, 2 minutes or so, right? Like I could do it faster if it was a more organic form, something I'm more used to drawing. But for the most part, when it comes to something like this, I'm gonna try and knock these out kind of quickly. The other thing is kind of like, how much of this do you draw? Do you also draw the light, as in like the shapes? Um, Essentially, if you don't draw where the light source is coming from, then you could what am I trying to say? Do you want to draw the indication of light, or would you also like to draw the object that's making the light? It's a lot of little choices like that. Um, so this is about where this drawing could end for me. And I got a certain amount of indication in there. But I would say it's not enough. I'm still missing some other lines that I'm going to add. Just kind of really make sure I know what it is I'm looking at. So now with just adding these lines, I feel like I might be able to trick my brain into kind of seeing that this is some sort of track area here. And since it is, I can kind of surmise, okay, we're underground, we're in a tunnel, you know. It kind of puts the story together a little bit more. Okay, there's also some sort of intricate wiring going on down here as well. I used to think that like everything that I made would be nice if I could turn it into some sort of asset as far as drawing goes. But I think the way I thought about it was wrong. Where it was kind of like I need to clean everything up and make this thing into a specific style or something like that. And I was like, I think that that's not good enough. I felt like you kind of have to make things work for any style to some degree, or put it in a way. Nowadays, I feel like you need to put it in a way where it can be transformed into that other style you might need it to be for that moment. That kind of makes it, I don't know if this is the right term, but sort of an evergreen type of asset, you know, because then you can use it for just about any situation. It should work. And I don't necessarily make a lot of assets, but the ones that I do make are kind of like um, I try to follow that principle or idea, which means again a lot of this kind of comes with like acceptance, where I'm kind of just like okay, I I may not enjoy maybe the styling of this or something like that. As long as I can tell what it is, I can kind of transpose kind of like what I want onto it. So maybe I have this line drawing and I can go okay, maybe I make this more cleaned up. Or maybe I keep it sketchy and I just clean it up a little bit and then I add more roughness to it. Maybe I want to use it where I want to take the shadows from the reference or something and I want to focus in on that. So okay, I could do that. Um, just a multitude of different directions to kind of go with anything you make. Um, so I'm trying to be okay with, for the most part, like what I'm drawing and kind of knowing how it works. That way, that way I can kind of be like, okay, maybe this isn't the best thing ever, but I know how to make it into what I need it to be. You know. So I'm trying to get better at it. So put this down here. Okay, cool. It's definitely off. make it a little bit more better. Could always just use this and then go around it if I wanted to as well. Alright, so do I want to add more details to this drawing? Seems to be some clutter in the reference. I forgot like a box on the wall here. Where is it exactly? It's in between the space. It's another one. I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background. Tell me if it's too loud. At least I'll be able to mute. Something else here on this wall. It's a bit higher. Oh yeah. Let's draw another one. Still don't want to tackle this one. Feels a little bit too complicated. Oh, that's interesting. So I found like this interesting photo where it seems to be like a building kind of falling apart, or one of the pillars in the building is. Reminds me of something you'd see in Akira. think the more interesting part of it is that I'm not an engineer, and I'm not into. I don't know enough about this type of destruction, if you will. So it's like something to learn from. It's kind of like, hey, what is actually in those pillars that we see at like a parking garage or something? How are they constructed? I don't know. I haven't done enough research to know anything about that or enough about that at all. So I don't have the knowledge of that. So through pictures that are interesting, you know, I can kind of learn more about these types of things. One of the things that like Akira and things like it, where they add extra detail into things, definitely through like things like animation or even comics or something, it kind of leaves you with a lingering like amount of like interactive information, where it's kind of like if the person making it put that information in there, sure, it might be interesting as far as like it might mean something to the plot. But when it doesn't, and you know that this person just starts to put a lot of details into things that they find interesting, it's a good way to like be like, I could look into this and this might actually be a real thing. So the way these structures kind of billow out from, I don't know, maybe something inside of it or next to it exploded, maybe it's legit just crumbling, maybe it, something weakened the structure or whatever. So you kind of start looking into the build of things and how all that stuff is kind of not as structurally sound as we think it is. It's just stuff to look into, honestly. Stuff to learn about and might be interesting to look into. But also, what if you wanted to add this to your comic or something? What if you wanted to put this into some imagery? It kind of legitimizes damage in a certain particular place, so you have like real world details and stuff. It's not just you just seemingly having fun and not knowing the structure of things. It's you actually knowing the structure of things and then showing it. And I feel like that kind of legitimizes your destruction in your comic or in your thing, right? It makes it more real and more believable and kind of gives you some, I don't know, it's an eye-opening thing. It's not just, oh, that was cool. It's like, oh, wow, that's what a wall would do if that happened to it. Oh, wow, you know. I don't know the perfect word for it. I usually don't. But, that's what I'm trying to say. Right, and this part of this wall kind of is forward. It's in front of these structures here. And then this part isn't billowing out anymore. A little bit. So, like these little thin lines going down here. Okay. This goes into this area. I'm also trying to put like details, but not too many lines. Something I'm trying to get better at. I mean, there's a way to put lots of details without lines, and that would be like, okay, maybe I go for shadows or something. But I'm still trying to use line work to kind of dictate the shape of something, and the details kind of just going around that. But anyway, I'm trying to find a way for it to look more or less. This is a word I learned recently. It's I have to look into it, but it's an Italian word, I believe. But it's the it's the art of making something that is really difficult look easy. And I felt, I kind of resonated with that because I was like, that's what the balancing act is to me, where you can draw really well, you can draw, and you understand all these different fundamentals, but you also allow there to be like a kind of controlled yet leisure approach to kind of like putting down the art. It's kind of like that. Um, I think people like Kira Toriyama kind of had this approach. Um, I think that's another reason why he was so fun to draw. Like, it was so fun to like sit down and try and draw something you saw in Dragon Ball, because despite certain details, you knew he could draw, but you also knew there's certain people or certain artists that were putting in way more effort into their drawings to show off their drawing ability, while like the stuff he drew resonated, um, almost like it's like a person who could really draw found a way to simplify their drawing ability through really good design. And so when you saw them draw anything, it just stood out because they made it look really simple. But if you try to draw it, you'd actually have fun and you get better at drawing. And then next thing you know, you'd still realize, oh, they still got me. Like, I still cannot draw as good as Kira Toriyama. Like, look at all the stuff you could do. But also, not thinking about it too much, just having too much fun drawing. It's an interesting little thing. So now I'm kind of going back over this, what would you call this? I was going to call it a gate, but I don't know what you would call that. Guardrail structure. But yeah, I think this is coming out well. It's like a door area. Has something else here. Can't tell what that is. It's also interesting that does that. Okay, so over here there is a bunch of shadow. So I'm gonna just section it off with a line. And there's also, feels like another structure here. Can't tell what exact shape that is. Feels like something like this. And there's also a bunch of rocks on the ground. Or maybe concrete. Some sort of stones that probably fell out of the pillar structure. So that's pretty cool. So I think, yeah, I really like that. I think I need to save that picture, honestly, because that joint is definitely going to disappear on me. Let's see. Let's see, do I have it still on Pinterest at all? Okay. Dang, I don't think I have that one in particular up, but that's okay. There's other references. Oh wait, here we go. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, where we at? But yeah, stuff like this, right? I can like repurpose this stuff. I can use it. I can, just thinking about the real thing to me is like learning from it, right? What I was doing. Oh snap! I see that's number 4 there now. Actually, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. There's like this sign on one of these, and it's number 4. But anyway, the biggest thing about all this to me is like learning from this, right? Like, sure, I want to get better at drawing. Cool, cool, cool. But through drawing, I want to learn, right? So I want to be like, okay, what is this I'm looking at? I don't know what this is. And then I want to start picking out elements of it. Like, okay, um, seems like there's like a opening in the floor here. What is that? I want to learn. I can start detailing stuff out, like um, I made a little button for this, right? I could be like, what are these inside this space in between here and here, there is part in the middle that's like buckling, and it has these type of, I don't know, metal parts to them, and they're kind of seemingly what helps give this structure, its form and its the ability to kind of stay in place. So I'm like, okay, what are these? How do they work? I also see some horizontal, like, parts to them as well. So I don't know what that is, but maybe that's something I can do some research on. Then I can kind of learn from there what that actually is, what is their function, what is there. Even if I don't want to use it in my comic as like something my character gets to learn, I, the author of the comic, get to learn these things and choose what I do with that information. Right? Um, that's just makes sense to do. I want to write a story, and while I'm making the story, I'm doing research for the story. I want to learn more about the world, not just the world I'm building, but the world itself, right? So I feel like, yeah, that's a good way to just never be bored, always learning, always gaining new information, and potentially gathering enough information for people to be interested in that stuff. If you can get someone interested in learning something new, that's awesome. Sometimes I can get a little bit lost in the imagery of a thing, because I think that's, I don't know, it's just interesting to me personally, but in general, I think that it's just a good idea to kind of like when you're doing the research for something, you should really dig into it and kind of figure out what's really going on with it. to some degree. You can always come back to these things and kind of add more information to them and things of that nature as well. So that's what I'm trying to do as a creator as well. Not everybody will want to do that though, and I get that. It's not going to be the same for everyone. But anyway, you're like, huh, what is that, right? I don't know if y'all can actually see what I actually just did there, but I'm showing this area here because I know it's kind of small. Like, I guess I'm asking myself, what are these things that are inside of this area here? That's the most interesting thing here in this piece. There's also these cords above here, which kind of attach seemingly above this piece, above this piece here. It's like something going on behind here. Kind of goes into the structure, and then these things come out of it. What are those? I don't know what that is. Of course, you have behind there, you have this type of shape, which is seemingly a good structure for this to be on. Assume from the background that it kind of tapers a certain specific way. Maybe it does something like that. I don't know. I do not know. What about this area? I was kind of fixated on figuring out why this did this, but there's no line that goes here. So that means that this structure right here is in front, and it's not no like rules for it to kind of like, this wall is doing something completely different, which makes me wonder, like, is it like a little bit more off to the side, like around where the reference kind of cuts off for me, so it's more like over here. Because if that's the case, then okay, it's still going by this perspective here. It's like, okay, I can see that. And then that means the other wall probably is on something that makes sense to be down here. So, yep, you can go through and just ask, what is this? What is that? There's this little area down here that has this little cylindrical thing here. I mean, again, beyond just drawing things in detail, I'm just interested in general in what the thing is, because maybe I want to learn more about it. Maybe if I do some research, I can then bring it up exclusively, and I can go, okay, since I know what this thing is now, I can draw it from different perspectives. And maybe that's something I want to do. Maybe I can go look up what it's used for, where I'll generally find it, why it's there, what it does, shoot, who installs it, who has the job to install this thing, And then my places when I draw them, from maybe this large reference material I have of different images, I can fill out everything, and it'll make more sense to a person looking at it who actually does generally know what those things are, right? And that's another level of appreciation you get from the people viewing your material. It's kind of like if you made, I don't know, a comic about, geez, what do I know a decent amount about? If you made like a comic randomly about, I don't know, card games, and you know, you know a decent amount about, if you don't know a decent amount about card games, the best you could do is come up with maybe how it feels for you to potentially win that card game. Because if you've ever won, uh, maybe you could tell someone else's story and try your best to kind of get across those feelings and emotions and stuff like that. But when you actually know the mechanics of a card game, when you understand like the inner workings of TCGs and playing them in person, going to a tournament, uh, the different personalities, the different tournament organizers, uh, the officials with the rules and stuff when they walk around and make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. The shenanigans, the coin flips, the dice rolls, how much money certain cards cost and everything, how you have to hustle online to try and get you some cards, how things scam you, you know? Yeah, when you know the ins and outs of all that, you can actually write a more in-depth story about these things that will probably have more of an appreciation beyond just the entertainment factor from people who actually have lived that experience or even got close to that experience. You'll even gain attraction from people who have heard that this is a legit story where it's like it has legit details from an experience, because what if they're looking to get into it but they're kind of coasting, and maybe they're not really trying to get into it, but they're like, I heard it was had some decent real details in there, and maybe it ends up inspiring them to check it out themselves for the first time. You know, you can't easily do that when you don't have that in there, I would say. Um, sure, the entertainment factor is definitely a big deal, but once you start adding in some extra details and like some areas of realism, I think it becomes more appealing in that type of way. So, yeah, this is the most I can do right now for this stream because I ran a little late and I had a lot of other things to do today. So I'm gonna cut it here. Thanks so much for coming through and hearing me share my thoughts on doing research for backgrounds, I guess is what it was. Um, I'm enjoying drawing backgrounds again. It's really nice. And I don't know, I really do like the approach of kind of like not trying to make it perfect because, well, me being a perfectionist, it is a skill set for me to actually try not to make something perfect because everything in my being is like, I know how I would do this step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps of just consistently refining this thing until it's as close as perfect as I can get. And then, cool, I'll have a really good drawing. And no other drawings, no other cool anythings. Just a bunch of work on one specific thing. And I won't be able to do a lot of work with that, and it's just detrimental. So I kind of have to pick my areas of, you know, where am I trying to use those not perspective, perfectionist tendencies to kind of be like, okay, here I'll put extra effort in, and here I'll drop it. So when I was talking to y'all about this earlier, I was like, okay, I'm doing a sketch of a background, but I'm not trying to have it be perfect compared to the reference I'm actually looking at. Sure, I want things to be generally in the right spot. Yes. But for the most part, I'm trying to use as few lines as possible to get across the big idea of things. And as long as as long as I look away from this and come back and I can tell what I'm looking at for the most part, that's fantastic. That's exactly where we want it to be. That way it means we can change it, we can edit it, we can add things to it, we can take things away from it to some degree, right? So it's a lot. It's pretty workable. But anyway, all that to say, thanks so much for coming through and hanging with me with this little short stream for today. I appreciate it. If you guys like the video, my thoughts on art and sketching and things of that nature, be sure to leave a like. If you have anything you would like to say to me, talk about, leave a comment, and of course subscribe to the channel if you're liking the videos I've been putting up on my YouTube channel. Also, if you guys are on Twitch, follow me there as well. I'm usually dual streaming. Nothing different from each one of these. It just depends on which platform you prefer. So, that's about it. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow at around a window between 5 and 7. That's usually when I stream. It's usually when I can get to the computer. So, thanks so much, everyone. Peace.